Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where we are looking ahead to a busy weekend. More Grade 1 action on the way. Lots of top staying chases on offer. Some tight little handicaps as well. Joined by Matchbook's very own Micheál Deasy. Sam Turner isn't with us this week, sadly, but we've got Steve Jones with us, and we've got Donn McClean as well. And the rest of the team will be on and off throughout the coming weeks as well. We've got a busy time of it as we build up to Christmas time, which is gonna hot up, but that is a little way off. But this week, it's time to tell you about Safer Gambling Week as well, because that it is what it is at the moment. So let's talk about safer gambling. Gambling should be an enjoyable leisure activity. So to ensure you remain in control, it may help you to remember the following. You should only gamble what you can afford to lose, avoid chasing losses, and set limits to help you manage time and amounts you spend gambling. You can find out more at safergamblinguk.org, and there's also a telephone number that you can free call should you wish to do so. We are recording this in Safer Gambling Week, so that is why we are talking about safer gambling. Right, we're going to gamble very safely this weekend, building up to the horse racing action. How are we all, DC? You're looking forward to Ascot and Haydock in the main, bit of Irish action as well?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the quality racing is coming thick and fast now, and this is a great weekend, and there's some great races to look forward to, and especially at Navan on Sunday. There's a few there'll be a few Cheltenham clues there, definitely.
Don alerted me to the Navan action on Sunday. Got a new race as well, Don.
Yeah, it's a new intermediate chase, Tom. It's the ideal race for Manella Indo. Henry de Bromhead said from a little while ago that this is the race that he was going to run in. Yeah, like he's I know we'll talk about him later on, but yeah, like he's a horse who could grow into a Gold Cup horse. I was actually pleasantly surprised with his performance at Wexford. I kind of thought that giving way to Manella or to Milan Native, he could be vulnerable on his first run. He was expected to come on for it, but he was so impressive. His jumping was so good. And if he does come on for that and continue to progress through the season, as it's probable, more than possible that he will, yeah, he could be a real Gold Cup horse. Looking forward to a lot to seeing him again on Sunday.
Manella Indo was Don's chaser to follow, and he has done just that so far. You followed Manella Indo, and he got off to a winning start. Incidentally, mine might run as well in the hurdle race, which we'll come to, my hurdler to follow, but we'll get to that. Steve Jones is with us, looking sharp as ever. Last time you were with us, you were in flying form, so hopeful for a little bit more, please, this weekend, Jonesy.
Yeah, well, lightning sometimes strikes twice, but we'll keep the faith for the time being.
Let's have a go at Ascot then. So Haydock, sorry, first of all, because there was a little change in the race order. So it's like a bumper weekend for you, because we initially were going to do the graduation chase and not the handicap hurdle there, but then they changed them around. So we're going to do both. So let's kick off with the first race we're going to be previewing. That is at Haydock. It's the graduation chase, the 1:15 or the 13:15. And I know, Jonesy, you've got a pretty strong fancy in here. So kick us off if you can.
Yeah, it's interesting. Master Tommy Tucker at the top of the market with a 1 next to his name, having beaten one horse at Huntingdon. He's had, 6 starts over fences. He's fallen 3 times. It's not a favourite for me. And the horse I like is another horse that won on his reappearance, which is Good Boy Bobby. And I know he's got stamina to prove, but I think this season he's going to stay this sort of trip, certainly. Last year, he was second to Mr. Fisher over 2.5. I like soft ground. I think he's going to be a stronger horse this year. He won over 2.5 over hurdles. And if you look at his pedigree, he's a nephew of Hennessy, who won the Bet365 Gold Cup at Sandown on the last day of the season, and that great Irish mare, Vola La Vedette. So there's stamina in the pedigree. He jumped very well at Bangor, which, when you look at Master Tommy Tucker's profile of the falls, it's on his side. I think he's got a hell of a lot in it. I can't understand why he's third best in. So he's a real good bet for me. Good Boy Bobby.
Was that the Carl Llewellyn trained Hennessy? Am I right in thinking?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, in his short time at Weathercock House.
Yeah, brief. You win a Bet365 Gold Cup. There you go. Job done. Currently, Good Boy Bobby is 5.0. You've got Master Tommy Tucker in there at 2.88, Dasher at 4.0. Jonesy putting up Good Boy Bobby at 5.0. Look, I can't find a play in the race other than I did a piece on Racing TV last year all about Master Tommy Tucker, saying how I thought this was a star in the making when he got it together. But I think he's a brilliant horse. but he just makes too many errors. And he won a 2-runner chase last time. And I don't know, it wouldn't surprise me if he were to go and win this by 6 lengths, but equally, it wouldn't surprise me were he to make a terrible error. And at 2.88, he's just not a play for me. And I'll sit on my hands for this one. Don, have you got a play in this?
No, I definitely agree with Steve. I think Goodbye Bobby is probably overpriced. Master Tommy Tucker, yeah, look, he's an exciting horse. His jumping is a bit of a worry, and even at Huntingdon in that 2-horse race that Steve was talking about last time, he did make a couple of errors, jumped a bit to his left, which at Huntingdon it's not a positive. At Haydock, it's fine. It's left-handed track. But he's an exciting horse if he could get it together. Just Goodbye Bobby does like to go forward. Master Tommy Tucker also likes to go forward. So for as long as Master Tommy Tucker stays on his feet, they could get into a bit of a battle. But no, I think Goodbye Bobby, it's a good shout by Steve, because he is probably bigger than he should be. Like his run behind Mr. Fisher last December at the December Cheltenham meeting, that was a very good run. He led the whole, and actually gone over the last. Mr. Fisher had to really dig deep to try and get him. And I know Mr. Fisher disappointed in the Paddy Power Gold Cup last week, but that was on very soft ground, so you can allow him that. He could be a Ryanair chase horse. So it was a good run by Goodbye Bobby, and that was over 2.5 miles. So you couldn't say that he didn't stay it. It's over 2 miles, 5.5 on Saturday. It should be fine from, you would have thought. And if he can just get into a good rhythm out in front, then yeah, he could outrun his odds by a fair way. Comanche Red was disappointing the last day in that Sodexo Gold Cup behind Regal Encore. See that putting cheap pieces on him for the first time. So if he could bounce back to the form that he showed on Stevens Day last year at Kempton, that would bring him into it. He could be a little bit, maybe the reaction to his defeat the last time, because it was his last run, that it might have been just a little bit greater, the negative reaction, than it should have been. But he does have to bounce back. So he's a bit of you have to have a little bit of a question mark over him. But I think, yeah, Goodbye Bobby is sound. He's had his first run of the year. He's jumped well that day. He should come on for that. So yeah, I can see him running a big race.
I think it's well done. Sorry, it's well done. I was expecting a burn up in this race between Dashel Drasher and Master Tommy Tucker. And Good Boy Bobby last time at Bangor, they rode him a little bit back and he jumped to the front. So I wouldn't be surprised if they decided just to take a lead off the likes of Master Tommy Tucker and Dashel Drasher.
Steve, what ground are you working on for Haydock this weekend, out of interest? What do you think they'll be heavy in the description?
It's going to be properly soft. Whether it goes heavy or not, I don't know. But it's going to be really testing, like we often see at Haydock.
Deasy, you in agreement with that? And do you have a fancy in the race?
Yeah, when I was going through this race on Tuesday, Wednesday, just early, I was kind of operating on it that it'll be heavy ground. I don't think it'll be the rain that was forecast earlier in the week hasn't quite come, so I think it'll be soft. I don't think it'll be heavy Haydock ground. I'd be with you. I kind of Master Tommy Tucker was the one I picked out. I thought that he was very good his last 2 times. I think last season he was making mistakes and falling. He was just flying through the air and belting fences, and that was bringing him down. But I thought he was quite sharp the last. I know it was only a glorified schooling session, but I think when he made one really bad jump from the race and the rest of them, he was absolutely pinging him. He would have been my selection, but he's not a value price at all. He's favourite, so I will probably sit this one out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to sit on the fence, I think. Well done for going through it Tuesday, Wednesday. That's hard graft. That's what sets you apart, isn't it? That's different gear, Dee.
That's the only time I could get to go through it, Tom. You know yourself now. Tis busy when you were small around the house. So I was I had 10 minutes there on Tuesday night, so I had a quick look at it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Then you get those snippy little comments, don't you, from the other half? Do you normally spend this long previewing races? Do you normally spend this long? Yeah.
That's part of the reason, isn't it?
Good stuff. It sounds like we're mainly team Good Boy Bobby for the lads. For those of you watching at the bottom of the screen, for Don and Steve, and Deasy and I'll sit on the fence. We stay at Haydock and move on to the next contest, which is the handicap hurdle. There, the 1350. Deasy, you can kick us off with this one.
This is the one that snuck up on us yesterday with the change, and so I haven't gone through this very deeply, but the one I had picked out was Arriva Durci, John Joe's horse. I was actually reading about it. He did a stable tour during the week and he gave him a big shout out. I think John Joe's having one of his best seasons in a couple of seasons already this year. He's hit the ground running. I saw this horse, I think it was last year, he won a bumper very well. And he won very well at Wetherby last time. Now he's up a good bit in the weights, but I think there's a bit more progression in him. The money has come from though, which I like to see for Challenger horses. He's into about, I think he's about 8.0 now, so I would be having a small win bet and a good chunky place betting him.
I think with John Joe, and actually Steve's got a bit of local knowledge with regard to John Joe. He's not too far away, but I feel like there's a time of year to catch him, and it's not in the dearth of winter. It's definitely now and maybe springtime as well. Another couple of factors are he's got 2 excellent jockeys riding for him in the fact that his son and also Kevin Bruder, who's done exceptionally well since he's come over. So they're flying along very nicely at the moment. Shake 'em Up Harry is the one for me. He is 6.5, Arrivederci 9.0, but Shake 'em Up Harry, who I wouldn't look too much into the fact that he got close to Shishkin last year, but I do think he's a good horse. There's a couple of bits of possible pace on here. I don't think he'll be too far away. I think the ground will be fine. I think he wants the extra couple of furlongs that he's tackling here, which is a big plus for him. And I did a Cheltenham preview night with Ben Pauling, who actually put this horse up at a huge price in the Ballymore. Now, he ran no sort of race, but he's got a lot of faith in the horse that this is a very good horse, and I think he's a well-treated one as well. I quite like his chances, actually. I had the advantage of coming to all this late, so I didn't really have a good look at the graduation chase, but had a good look at this race. So there you go. And I thought 6.5 about Shake 'em Up Harry was very fair. Steve Jones.
Yeah, I thought the interesting thing about this race was the 3 horses towards the top of the betting, Kid Commando, Shake 'em Up Harry, on the wild side. They all made all the running last time. So whether there'll be a bit of a burn-up in that sense, and that'll certainly suit Arrivederci or Arrive Durkee, as we say in the Cotswolds. But I was really impressed with him last time at Wetherby. I think he's a very progressive horse, stepping into handicaps, beat Warlord, who also runs in the same race. The strong pace that I mentioned that is likely will suit Arrivederci very well, and I agree with Deasy. I think he's got an outstanding chance.
You too. Love it. So both of them on Arrivederci. Don, what about you?
Same page. Yeah, look, you can see all that. Kid Commander was very good the last time, wasn't he? He got out in front and he stayed on really well. I thought Malaya actually ran a nice race in behind. She's a mare who could maybe back on the right-hand track, Epsom or Ascot, back at Ascot. She could step forward. Yeah, look, Arrivederci and Warlord the last day, there wasn't that much between them. They both travelled into the race really well, and Warlord actually, he got the third last a bit wrong, and he made a fairly significant mistake at the second last. Arrivederci came away from him in the end and was impressive in winning. But Warlord got £5. I think Arrivederci got £8, so he's £3 better off for whatever, a 2 or 2.5 length beating. And they're both really likeable, progressive young hurdlers. They're both only 5. That was their seasonal debuts for both of them, so they'll probably both come on for that. I just think Warlord might be a little bit of a forgotten horse in behind. Like Colin Tizard's horses weren't running that well at the time. They're running a bit better now. I can see him maybe getting closer to Arrivederci than he did on slightly better terms. And he ran in that good EBF final last year that McFabulous won. And he didn't run badly. He was pretty well beaten in the end, but he didn't run badly in it. But his last run, his seasonal debut, was a step forward from that. It was on soft ground over a similar trip. So I just think he's maybe a little bit overlooked. Like I see the case for Arrivederci. He's a progressive horse, and he's won last time out. He was into the race on the back of a win. So you can see him going on again. I thought Our Power, he was disappointed the last time at Cheltenham at the October meeting, but on his last run last season at that same Kempton meeting, the Kempton meeting on the day after Cheltenham, he was very good that day. If he could come back to that type of form, he's £6 higher now than he was then, and maybe the run at Cheltenham. Again, the Nigel St. Davis horses they've been progressing through the season, through the early part of the season, and if he could step forward a bit from that, he could outrun his odds. But yeah, I just, if pushed, I'd say the race, the Wetherby race in which Arrivederci beat Warlord, that's probably a key race, and they both came nicely clear. But I think Warlord maybe at the prices might be a wee bit more interesting than Arrivederci.
Just to give you some context to that, then. Warlord, Kid Commander is the horse that heads the betting 6.0. Shake 'em Up Harry 6.5. Arrivederci is a 9.0 shot, and then Warlord is 11.0. So I mean, if you think he's the value play in the race, then that's the one for Don. That's the 150, that handicap hurdle. And then we get stuck into the really good action as far as the chases go. This is the Chanelle Pharma 1965 chase at Ascot, 2:15 at Ascot. Are we working on generally soft ground at Ascot this weekend? Happy with that?
It's certainly going to be on the soft side, isn't it? I don't think their forecast is much rain as Haydock, but it's not going to be good ground, I don't think, anywhere near. So,
just a sort of generic question, Steve, just because you were talking then about the horses that Paul Nicholls has picked up from Willie Mullins. I think it's really interesting that you'd never see it as a trainer upgrade or anything like that. But I still think there's a fair chance that Paul, and I think he'll want to, get these horses hitting the ground running and showing their best straight away as a what Paul's like. And I think he will absolutely want it to look as though he's got the very best out of them. And he's got, I think it's 3 or 4 really exciting new acquisitions, of which Real Steel is one of them.
Yeah, and I think certainly a few of them have lost their form and need sweetening up. So that would be one angle in. But when you're coming from Willie Mullins to whoever trainer you're going to, you're not looking at it as a switch of stables that's going to bring any improvement, I don't think. So I'd take it with a bit of a pinch of salt.
I'll kick us off here. It's purely a sort of almost a trading angle, if you like. I think if you take the 3.0 available about Real Steel now, you'll beat the market, because I can seriously see this horse going off favourite. He's rated 166. Now, I know he's got to give a couple of pounds to the 157 rated Imperial Aura and £3 to the 155 rated Itchy Feet, but I can really see the horse going off at the top of the betting. So 3.0, he's a fair shout for me. The ground will be absolutely fine. He's gone well fresh in the past. I think he's the most likely winner, but I certainly think he should and think he will be fab. So I said the same with Deafy de Searle last week, and I got everything right except the fact he ran a stinker. So there you go. But I do think he's a play now. If you're looking at 3.0 second in the market, then I'd take that about Real Steel personally. Donn McClean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Real Steel he's probably a bit less under the radar now than he was. His run in the Gold Cup last year was phenomenal. He was behind as well off a slow pace. He was wide. He made a bit of a mistake at the 4th last at the top of the hill, but he travelled so well down the hill. It looked like he was sweeping around and that he had a big chance of going on and winning the Gold Cup. His run just kind of flattened out a little bit, but it was a massive run. And he's a horse who he's probably better going right-handed than going left-handed as well. I actually thought he would run a big race in the King George last year. He was a big prize. He didn't go and run it. He disappointed in the John Durkan chase on his final run before the King George was run. That was a kind of a messy race, and he got behind, and then he had to pick up off a slow pace. So I thought you could allow him that run, but he's a horse he's just still a little bit under the radar. And there is talk about the King George from again this year, which I think is very interesting, because 3 miles going right-handed at Kempton, that should suit him a lot better than 3.25 miles at Cheltenham going left-handed. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how he does go, because just on your point, Tom, you saw how well Duke de Genève ran. I know he's a bit keen and a bit free last weekend, but he ran a big race, and he's got latent talent as well. So, and Lorena as well at the weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see how those Gerard Sullivan horses go. But yeah, Real Steel, yeah, he's still a lightly raced horse. Imperial Aura is obviously he's a massive talent, and he's progressive, and he won very well. He won the Colin Parker race last time at Carlisle very well, having won the big novices handicap obviously at the Cheltenham Festival last year. So he's a progressive horse who is probably going to improve beyond his mark of 157. But as you say, Tom, Real Steel is 166 already. He doesn't have to improve, and he's only given him £2. So yeah, I can see Real Steel running a big race, and yeah, I can see him going on from that as well.
There's another ex-Mullins, the hurdler who'd been off for ages as well, who ran really well for Paul Nicholls, and I can't think who it is, but he's had 2 run really well. So I think that's interesting enough. Are you with me, Dees, or are you looking elsewhere?
Stormy Ireland?
Yes, it may well have been. Yeah, it may well have been.
Yeah,
that's right. It may. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be on board with Real Steel as well. I think that he has fantastic back form. His run behind me in the John Durkan last year would be up there with the best form of any horses in this race, and that's being hard than Imperial Aura. But Imperial Aura is 7 pounds barely off at the weights of them. I think, as you said, Real Steel is 3.0 now. You should take that. He'll probably go off a lot closer to 2.0.
As simple as that, Jonesy.
Yeah, I also thought it was quite simple, but I thought it was Imperial Aura. if they do flip flop and Real Steel becomes favourite, I'd be very tempted with Imperial Aura. I think this is a really nice progressive horse. I think it was set up for the race at Cheltenham, the race that they ditched 2.5 mile novice handicap. They won really well. And I thought the performance at Carlisle on heavy ground on the comeback in that Colin Parker Memorial Chase, which has got a fair history of throwing up good horses, beat Windsor Avenue, Sam Brown and Black Op, which he probably was entitled to do. In fact, he was entitled to do. But the manner of victory and the way he jumped, I think this is a really nice horse. And I think this is certainly a graded horse. I think he's the one, to be honest.
So he's currently 2.87. So there's not a huge amount in it compared to the 3.0 about Real Steel. We haven't even mentioned Itchy Feet yet or Black Corton. Just to come back to you, Jonesy, I'm interested in so obviously the weight differential, the class differential, seemingly at the official ratings doesn't bother you. It's the upwardly mobile aspect of Imperial Aura that makes you think he can beat the rest of these.
Yeah, official ratings don't ever bother me, to be honest, because it's not what they're rated. It's not even what they're capable of running to. It's what you think they'll run to, and I think there's little doubt in my mind that Imperial Aura is capable of running to the same sort of figures as Real Steel, if not better. And getting £2 just helps. So that's the way I look at it. I don't get wound up about it. When I see a market priced up on official ratings, I quite like it because I just disregard.
Deasy, I'm interested in just your thoughts on Itchy Feet because we haven't mentioned him. He's a Grade 1 winner and he's third in the betting here. The other two are not Grade 1 winners, but that he's not doing. He doesn't do it for me. I'm not convinced now. Looking back at that stand down run, I've been disappointed with him subsequently.
I have very few thoughts on Itchy Feet, John. Tom, I don't think he'll trouble the top 10. I think he's a good horse. I just don't think that he is up to this level.
Fair enough. Imperial Aura then and Real Steel fighting it out, and it's 3v1 on Real Steel for us against Jonesy. But I take on Jonesy at your peril. We might be left to regret it. Let's kick on to the Stayers Handicap Hurdle, the 1425 at Haydock. This is a nice, easy one for you, Don. So lead the way.
The Jamman, easy. Try time chase winner. It's the obvious route for him.
What is McNally doing with this? He's working wonders with him, obviously. But I mean, this boy is just unreal, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, and yeah, he's with the real deal as well. It's he's got some improvement out of them. But look what the Jamman did the last Sunday at Navan in the Troytown Chase was phenomenal. He could have departed at the first fence, but no, he was brilliant. Paul Townend was brilliant on him. Just hunted him around, and he won by I think 18 lengths was the official winning margin, but it could have been anything. So now look, it's handicapped. So he was off a mark of 129 that day. He's off 148 now, so he's nearly 20 pounds higher and back over hurdles. So it is a different ball game. But the ease with which he won a Troytown Chase, it was phenomenal. So look, he's a fascinating runner. He's one of the most fascinating runners of the day, really, I think. But yeah, look, there are a couple of horses from the Pertemps final going here. Relegate is one, and she stayed on in the Pertemps final. I mean, we know Relegate from long ago, a champion bumper winner for Willie Mullins, now with Colin Murphy, and her run in the Pertemps final was good. I think she was going as fast as she could go. I think she just needs a real test of stamina, and her hurdling wasn't great. She kind of was getting in tight to her hurdles instead of being fluent over them. And now she did really well to stay on as well as she did to take 5th place. And then she's had a run this season as well. She finished 4th in the Lismullen hurdle. She would have been only 5th. Only Ronald Pump fell at the last or the second last. So it was a fine run, and Colin Murphy's fitting cheek pieces for the first time. So that might just sharpen up her jumping, and just help Robbie Power a bit with her travelling. So I can see her running well, but she's been pretty well found in the market now. And I think Third Wind, who actually finished in front of her in that Pertemps final, I think he's probably more interesting. He had he did best by far of the British horses in the Pertemps final. He stayed on. I thought he didn't get up the hill as strongly as Relegate, but he still kept on well enough to hold on to 4th place from her. He just deprived her of 4th place. And I thought his run this year in another Pertemps qualifier at Newbury was a really good run. He travelled well, he shaped well, he came on the near side and looked like he was going to be a player, and his run just kind of flattened out. So I think it was a nice run back for a seasonal debut when it's a run, or if you go with on the premise that it's a run that's going to bring him on for something else, and this could be the race that they've had in mind. I was thinking he might be a Pertemps final horse for next year. He's still only 141, but this is a fairly lucrative prize to take in on the way. Now, if he did happen to win this, it might blow his mark for Pertemps. But I think he's a potentially well handicapped horse on a mark of 141, and there's more to come from him. He's only a 6-year-old. Just be a little bit worried if the ground were to get really, really testing. He probably wouldn't want a real dart test of stamina or Delegate would. But I think he's probably a little bit overpriced.
I mean, the point being that previous winners of this and recent winners of this have gone on to contest the Stayers Hurdle itself and go off at the head of the betting for it. So it's a proper race. You wouldn't get many horses, Don, doing what the Jam Man's done to win a race on the level, then a race over fences, then a race over hurdles on consecutive starts.
No, he's got an unusual profile. Well, no matter what race he ran in next, he'd have an unusual profile going into it. But yeah, he's like we just don't know what he's capable of now. 148. Is that a mark that's going to? Is he at the ceiling of his ability on that? Who knows?
I reckon there's a trotting contest that Ronan's got lined up for him. The Jam Man 5.0. He's your main fancy in the race, Don, right?
No, I think he's too short, Tom.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think Third Wind is better value than the Jam Man. I just think the Jam Man's fascinating, and it wouldn't be at all surprising if it were to tank into the race and win up at 12 lengths. But I think like a £19 hike is a fair hike for all that he was impressive in winning last one back over hurdles and going over to Britain. And yeah, I think that's all. I think 4-1 about him is or whatever 5.0 is around about fair. It's just about right. Whereas yeah, I think Third Wind, whatever 11.0 or thereabouts. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, 10.0 for Third Wind currently. Deasy.
I can't wait for the day that JP sends a horse to Roland McNally and poor bookies have to price that race up. I'd say that will give them serious anxiety. An improving handicap hurdler. I was hoping you'd come to me first so I could say everything that Dan said about Third Wind. I actually backed him earlier in the week when he was 11.0. For all the reasons Dan said, he's been well punted on the week as well. I didn't think he'd mind it being heavy, but I prefer it on the softer side of heavy. I think he's a cracking player, even at the price he is now. So because Dan put him up by props, I'm going to be chicken out and tip a reserve. I had Sylvie Eclipse picked out for this. His record at Haydock, she's won at Haydock 6 times. He has won twice, come second 3 times, and finished third the other time. He's sneaking in. He might sneak in at the bottom of the weights. If he does, he's going to be 25.0, 33.0, something like that. So if he does sneak in, I would have a small win bet and a small place bet on him as well. But Third Wind would be the main one.
So Third Wind, the main one in agreement, 10.0. Only Steve puts up reserves, Deasy, right? That is his honour only.
Money back.
Well, didn't lose anything. Jonesy, who do you like? Are you agreeing with Third Wind with the guys or looking elsewhere?
Yeah, it's interesting. I do like Third Wind, but this is a race that used to be run over 2 miles 6 and a bit, and it still was won by horses that stay really well, horses like Sam Spinner. And Paisley Park won it a couple of years ago. This is a race where it's going to be a real war. It's going to expose any stamina doubts on any of the horses. The Jam Man, for me, takes out far too much in the market. Very well handicapped on the flat and over fences, winning the last twice. So I want to take him on. And although the horse that I'm putting up hasn't got that kind of mysterious profile of the Jam Man or a sexy profile of a horse like Third Wind or Imperial Alcazar, but the horse I like, Dolphin Square, has got a rock solid profile for me. Just comes up and runs his race each time. Ran a really good race on his reappearance behind Dalarca on ground that was, although he is very versatile on the ground, I think he's a horse that stays so well. The softer ground at Haydock is going to suit him, and he was staying on all the time. He's got a great attitude. And I don't know what the other guys think, but I thought there was a distinct lack of pace in this race. I thought there was a lot of horses that like to be ridden off the pace, and there's a lot of horses stepping up in trip. So I was thinking that maybe Dolphin Square, with that profile, will be ridden prominently more prominent than he perhaps often is. And the other thing I like about Dolphin Square, and this isn't a go, it is owner and regular jockey David Maxwell, who I think is great for. It's great that he's determined to ride the horses himself, but he's out injured, and Richard Johnson taking over can only be a positive. He rode it last time at Newbury, so he does know it, the horse, and he's unbeaten on off ground twice. So I think he's an incredible price for me. He's what is he, 2022, something like that?
Yeah, 21.0. And the other thing you answered the question really before I came to you, but I just wondered if I can extend it to asking you whether you think it's now factored into the betting, the fact that it's an obvious, no disrespect to David Maxwell, he's an amateur, but the fact that the professionals are taking over now, do you think that punters will really latch onto that or have? I mean, he's 21.0, so maybe not. The fact that you've got, say, champion jockey or ex-champion jockey Richard Johnson riding him now.
I'm amazed he's that price. He's got so much going for him, this horse. The race is going to suit him. It's just... And Dolphin Square, you must have used to live there because it was where the flats in West London where all the royalty and the prime ministers lived, wasn't it? So Tom Stanley must have a little bolt hole up there somewhere.
No, I didn't live there. We rented it out. It's not true. It's
you
not true.
You rented it out to prime ministers, did you?
It's definitely not true. I like one at a price as well. It's a small play. It's a bit of a flyer, but this IK Brunel, he was my horse to follow the season before last, and that's because I spent a lot of time at Ollie Murphy's that year, and he said, look, he in all seriousness, he said he could be one of the best horses I've got. Now, he hasn't lived up to that, rated 138, but he's been a touch disappointing. And he had a second season as a novice because they wanted it that way. They wanted experience. He can have his head fried a little bit. And that's why they didn't go to the Cheltenham Festival with him last year. He's only raced once over 3 miles over hurdles. He's won. He's unexposed at the trip. He won't be ridden too far away, which I like. As Jonesy was saying, there's not a huge amount of pace on here. And at 29.0, and I reckon you get bigger than that on the day as well. I thought he was a bit of a flyer. I play in the place market and the win market. Fences haven't worked out for him. I don't mind with staying hurdlers when they come back. The Potemps, for example, has got a good history of winners that haven't made it as chasers. I'm not sure why, but I don't mind that profile. He's still lightly raced. I think this is his first handicap start, and 138. He could just be that one this weekend where you go, I found one at a price. So I'm backing IK Brunel at a big old price.
I think they might be looking for a replacement jockey on IK Brunel because I think Adrian Heskin took a pretty bad fall yesterday.
Interesting. So you think he's likely out, do you?
Yeah, I think he's got an arm injury.
Okay, I'm literally about to scroll through to find a replacement jockey and then realise that's not my job. I was thinking, is Aidan Coleman riding in the race? I guess that the McNeils and Ollie Murphy will sort that out themselves. Good stuff. Right, let's kick on to the least competitive race of the weekend, perhaps. I suppose it's a bit disappointing that we've only got 3 showing up. Don, is it between the top 2 in the betting for you, between Henderson and Nichols, or is it not as simple as that?
Yeah, like I've gone through each one of these, and each one have chances. And that's not helpful at all, I know, but yeah, look, it is interesting. I think Call Me Lord is probably the one that I would come down on. He ran well for a long way at Aintree last time. Like, he's a classy horse. The soft ground is going to suit him. He kind of ran like a horse. There was a funny race the last day. It wasn't the one that Somerville Boy won. He kind of ran like a horse who would come on for it. And while he has gone well fresh in the past, he does tend to come on for a seasonal debut. And he finished. He was beaten by If the Cap Fits in this race last year. So you'd think maybe they thought, look, we'll give him a run. It was his seasonal debut last year, so maybe Nicky Henderson and team went, look, we'll give him a run before going back and targeting this race. And you do like when horses do target races, and he's obviously run well at Ascot before. So, yeah, I think he's probably the logical favourite. Look, it's going to be fascinating to see what Lorena does on her first run for Paul Nichols. On rating, she's the one. She's got the same rating as Call Me Lord, and she gets the mare's allowance and another £6 as well. So she's on the weights and measures, she's the correct favourite. And Song for Someone, like, he battled on really well to win the Grade 2 race at rerouted from Wincanton to Kingwell to Kempton last time, back in February, the last time we saw him. He was cooked on the home turn, beaten, all ends up, passed, looked like he was going to finish third or fourth, and then stayed on really well. So he's a likeable horse. I think he's probably going to have to play third fiddle to the two top ones, though, which is, as the betting suggests, he will. But look, Lorena's fascinating. Call Me Lord, to me, is the most solid, but it's a rest.
I mean, officially, it sounds like you're not going to, you won't be parting with any cash.
No.
And I won't be either, to be honest. I can, it's a race I'm fascinated to watch, but I just don't, I think if I'm not going to have a bet in some races, especially given it's safer gambling week, then this is one of them. I think Lorena should be fab, and she's 2.5 currently, 2.62 Call Me Lord, Song for Someone 4.0, and I can't really argue with any of that. I think she's just, for all I think she's the most likely winner. She's just a bit risky given where she is, for all that she was having wind trouble apparently last year. Are you going to have a bet in this, Jones? Have you got an on-top selection?
I'm desperate to take Lorena on. I thought
Really?
She looked so moody last season, and even she didn't like fences, did she? But even when they dropped her back to hurdles at Punchestown, the way she was travelling, turning for home, you thought, great, she's back to form. But then she just down tools for me. I think when a mare goes like that, I want to take them on at that sort of price. And even though there's the angle that she might have been sweetened up by Paul Nicholls, the breathing operation, which obviously for Paul Nicholls is not an unusual thing. But if that was troubling her, fair play. But there's too many question marks for a horse of that price. And I think she's been overrated her whole career, personally. She went off, second favourite for the Champion Hurdle a couple of years ago on the back of beating one horse at Sandown and Stormy Island. I just don't buy into her. I think she was so impressive at the Cheltenham Festival in that mare's novice hurdle that year. That race shouldn't be at the Cheltenham Festival. It's an appalling race. They should have dropped it in favour of the 2.5. They dropped the 2.5 mile novice chase with fascinating punters race, a real punters race for a mare's novice hurdle, so Willie Mullins can win it again. Anyway, as tomorrow, I don't like Lorena. You might have noticed, and Call Me Lord. I was disappointed with him at Aintree. I thought he had a lot in his favour, and he was kicked out of the way by Somerville Boy. And he was beaten in the race last year, albeit by a good horse if the cap fits. And the one I really liked, the outsider of three, Song for Someone. And I know he's got to improve. I think the trip will certainly help him. I think he's a horse that is a strong stayer at 2 miles. When he was second to Thomas Darby at Ascot last season, when he was only getting £2 bar the rider's claim, he finished upsides just a length behind him, and that form ties in with Call Me Lord, so he's not far off there. And the angle in here is Tom Simmons. Now, Tom Simmons has trained 11 winners last season, the whole of last season, including Song for Someone won the Kingwell, which was back at Kempton when Wincanton was off. But he's already had 11 winners this season, and it's only mid-November. David Dennis is joined in. Whether that's made a difference, I don't know. But whatever they've changed at Tom Simmons' yard is working. And that gives you hope that Song for Someone will improve. I think he'll go out in front, and I think he'll stay there.
At 4.0, I enjoyed that so much. It had everything, and that's what we want. It had a rant, it had a strong selection. I was going to ask you whether you just lay Lorena, but if you fancy Song for Someone, then that's what you do. There you go. 4.0 for Song for Someone. Deasy, anything to add?
Oh, I think Song for Someone is deadly, and he was going to be the bet for me in this race when there was 6 runners. He's a bit of it, well, not really a cliff horse, but I've been backing him for a long time. I saw his race against Elise's in Ludlow in 15th of November 2018. He finished second, and he went into my tracker. Then I've been backing him every time he runs since then. If you look back at his form there last year, even that race where he came third on Sandown to Mac the Man, he was giving away to Mac the Man and Protectorate, who were two incredibly well handicap horses at the time. Great run behind Thomas Darby. I think there's massive negatives against Lorena and Call Me Lord. I think Call Me Lord finds nothing. He travels really well, but never really picks up. I think he's a strong bet. Song for Someone.
I love it. I didn't think we were going to get 2 strong bets in this, and there we go. Don, I'm nearly convinced. I won't lie.
There as well. Interestingly, the only time Lorena did not go off as favourite was in that Champion Hurdle, Steve, when she was
Amazing.
second favourite behind Appleshade. So she's been favourite every single since she's joined Willie Mullins. She's come from France. Been favourite every single time, and she'll be favourite again.
Yeah.
Some people backed her in the champion hurdle. Yeah, but she got further than Appleshade and Bouvier, so kind of won. Yeah. Good. Let's move on to the feature on the day, the Betfair Chase at 3:00 from Haydock, and I think it's a better renewal than last year. I think it's a top quality renewal. We've got last year's first and second. Paul Nicholls is obviously well represented again with his King George winner. There's been a lot of talk about Clendezovo on social media. How can he be third in the betting, given that he's a dual King George winner? But then again, does he need the run, etc.? I think it's a fascinating market, lost in translation, heading it at the moment. Deasy, I haven't really come to you first much, and everything else keeps stealing your thunder. So, do you have a strong fancy in this?
Not a strong fancy. I would tentatively go for Bristol de Mai, because I think this is Bristol de Mai season. The three horses they haven't run yet, the top three in the betting, so they're all in need of a run. But I think that Clendezovo will have targets further along. I think Lost in Translation might have been held back because maybe in his Gold Cup run last year, maybe he had a long hard season. Maybe they're trying to keep a bit back from for that target this year. Bristol de Mai, this is his season, this is his race. Not a great value price, but I think that he will be all out for this. They will be going hell for leather to win this. Whereas the other two, I don't think it'll be the end of the world if they don't win it, while they'll have a good crack off it. But I think Bristol de Mai will be out for it, and I would have a small bet on him if I had to back anything in the race. But wouldn't be I'm happy enough to watch this.
Round about 3.5 currently, 2.87 for Lost in Translation. Clendezovo's in there at 3.75. Give you the others as well with Bells Hill and Keeper Hill, 41.0. And I'm not sure anybody will fancy those necessarily. Where are you with Lost in Translation, Don, after his disappointing effort in the King George and then his good run in the Gold Cup? Is he ripe for winning this a second year in the row, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, Tom. Look, his King George run was obviously all wrong, and as you say, he bounced back in the Gold Cup when the sedate pace probably wouldn't have suited him. So he's a very high class horse. I suppose a little bit of a worry, as Micheál was saying there. Bristol de Mai, this is his Gold Cup. You know, it's his Gold Cup every year, and he loves Haydock, and he proved 2 years ago that he didn't need soft ground at Haydock, but he's going to have soft ground at Haydock this year. So that's probably his optimum, and he's going to be a concert pitch. But is a concert pitch Bristol de Mai good enough to beat a nearly concert pitch Lost in Translation? I suppose in the back of your mind is the fact that Lost in Translation did have his run last year before he came here. He won the Colin Parker Chase at Carlisle, the one that Imperial Aura won this year. So did that bring him forward enough to win it? But I think he won with plenty in hand last year. It was a really lovely ride by Robbie Power, just hunted in behind and tracked Bristol de Mai and then delivered him, and he picked up well. So I think he's a better horse than Bristol de Mai. As against that, Bristol de Mai has his optimum race, optimum conditions, optimum track, and optimum time of year. So you can see why he's close in the market to him. But yeah, I think Lost in Translation is the right favourite. Clendezovo, I think he'll go and win the King George, and he'd probably run well and run better in this than he did 2 years ago. But I still think, even though Paul Nicholls has said that, you know, he's going guns out for this race, I still think it's a race that's going to bring him forward with the King George in mind.
Yeah, they have said that they're not going for the Gold Cup with him, so maybe that he'll be a bit more forward at this point. But I think he wants to go right-handed to be at his very best. For all he has won at Haydock and Newbury, I think, as well. But Clendezovo is the one I'd definitely be against. I think he should be third in the betting. And I will probably make a decision based on what the ground's doing. I think if it's no worse than soft, I think I'd be with Lost in Translation. But if there is a bit of heavy creeping, and if it is dire, if it is really testing, then I think, well, I don't think there'll be much 3.5 about Bristol de Mai knocking around, but I think he'd be the bet. Jonesy?
Yeah, I thought for a moment Don was going to get the full house up because you made a good case for Bristol de Mai and then jumped ship at the last minute. Because I think Bristol de Mai is a good bet in this. Because last year I thought he was taken on for the lead by Froden, And I think he went just that little bit quicker. And like Don said, Robbie Power gave him a really good ride. He was way off the pace down the back straight. And then he just crept into it. And he looked like, for me, he was going to go through and win easily. And I thought he made quite hard work of it in the end. And like the guys said, this is Bristol de May's race. He's won it twice. He was second last year, obviously, behind Lost in Translation. And I think him at his best on this day, it will be good enough, because I think Lost in Translation, if the ground does go deep, although he proved his stamina in the Gold Cup, I think it's a different sort of test. And to me, he was just coming to the end of his tether last year. And if Bristol de May can get into that rhythm out in front, which suggests the shape of the race suggests he will, I think he'll take a lot of passing. Clan des Obeaux, I read that Paul Nicholls said he's going to be hard fit, but his record does suggest that he's going to come on for the run, and the King George, the obvious target. So, again, I want to take the favourite on with Bristol de May. I think he's a nice price.
Yeah, it's 3.5. So it sounds like the team are pretty much behind Bristol de May, and I certainly would be if there's a bit heavy in the going description as well. Let's move on to the Irish action. We got a couple of races from Ireland. We were waiting on decks for them. So we weren't exactly certain what's going to be showing up, but we know that Don says that Micheál Indo is going to show up very likely in the chase. We'll start off with the earlier contest, and that is the Monksfield Novice Hurdle, the 12:10 at Navan on Sunday. Don, I feel like I want to come to you first with both of these, to be completely honest, which you'll be absolutely delighted about. Let me see if I can get an update on what's likely to be showing up. Did you have anything going through before official decks that you really fancied in this, Don?
No, look, the Monksfield Hurdle, it's a good race. It's been a good race for Gordon Elliott and Jigginstown. They won it last year with Fury Road, albeit there were a few defections, including Abacadabras. So he went off a long odds-on shot. They won it with Samcro. They won it with Death Duty. So it's a race that they do like to target a good horse at. And Farouk Delaine, he looks like a good horse. He was very impressive in winning at Down Royal last time. He was a good bumper horse last year as well. So he'll be interesting if he does line up. They've got Gordon Elliott and Era in there, one with Tim O'Driscoll, not a Jigginstown house horse, but he beat a well-regarded horse with Gavin Cromwell's last time, Gabinaco, at Fairyhouse, and the pair of them pulled nicely clear. That was a good run by Fakira. He did well to get up and beat Gabinaco. He got the final flight a little bit wrong, and he had to be gutsy, and he stayed on well. But I do like Lieutenant Commander Noel Meads. He's a real chaser in the making, and even this 2.5 miles, you'd think he'll be a 3-mile horse even over hurdles. But 2.5 miles on soft ground at Navan, it's a real stamina test. And just the way that he stayed on the last day at Galway, over 2.5 miles at Galway, it's a very stiff track. It's a real pull from the home turn all the way up to the winning line. And just the strength that he showed to get up and beat Coccolino. I know Coccolino probably didn't enhance the form the other day, but he did well to just the strength and the attitude that he showed. He's just a lovely chasing type of horse, but the chasing type of horse it's not a liability going into a race on heavy ground at Navan, even over 2.5 miles of soft ground. Champagne Gold, if he takes a chance of same connections as Micheál Indo, Barry Maloney and Henry de Bromhead, he was good last time at Wexford, beat Place de Vosges, who has since come out and enhanced the form, won her maiden hurdle at Thurles, in which she beat Botany, who could line up in the Monksfield Hurdle as well. So I think Champagne Gold's an interesting horse, but depending on what lines up, Tom, or how they bet, I think Lieutenant Command is probably the one that sets a standard, because he's that progressive, staying type of horse that you look for. And Noel Mead did say a little while ago that the Monksfield Hurdle was the plan for him. So you kind of like that when a trainer nominates a race a little way out, and it's a good race for him. It's a good stepping stone in the conditions, as in the race course conditions, should suit him as well.
Yeah, so 7 going forward for it. So 7 in the form of Champagne Gold, Fakira, who you mentioned, Farouk Delaine, Fire Attack, Lieutenant Command, triple-handed Jigginstown are there, Botany and Ex-Girl as well. The market's just not formed as yet. I feel like Farouk Delaine's going to go off at the head of the betting, given the profile he's got. Do you think that's fair?
I think you're probably right. Yeah, I think he'll be definitely towards the top.
Jack Kennedy on board Farouk Delaine as well, who he rode him, of course, at Davril last time. Right. And who rides Fakira?
Nothing.
That's the only horse without a jockey up at the moment for Gordon. You've got Mark Walsh on Fire Attack, Sean Flanagan and Noel Mead combining with Lieutenant Command.
Yeah. No, I'd stick with Lieutenant Command. It's a good race.
I mean, it is a proper race. Dees?
Lieutenant Command, I think for me as well, just because I think he'd stay the distance. I thought Champagne Gold was very good at Wexford, but he's up, I think, 3 furlongs here. Like I said, there's a good stiff hit at Navan. I'd like to see a horse that has stayed that distance already. So, Lieutenant Command, I think this would be a cracking race. Really looking forward to it.
Great. So my hurdler to follow, Farouk Daleen, and you both going with Lieutenant Command.
He's just going to be too short, Tom. I'd say he'd be 2.0, maybe odds on. That'd be very priced. I think Lieutenant Command might be 3.0 or maybe 3.5 or something. I'd fancy that more than Farouk Daleen.
Whatever. That was my most Partridge moment there. I agree. I think Farouk Daleen will be at the head of the bay, but I've got to side with him. He's my hurdler to follow.
Yeah,
nice under the radar hurdler. Jonesy.
Yeah, I bow to Donn and Deasy's expertise in this, but the one I do like horses that at this stage of the season have got more experience over hurdles, and I thought Fakira might just be the one. Finished second 3 times over hurdles last season, so he's still a novice. And then won by a nose in beating a horse that I quite like, Gabinaka, at Fairyhouse. So that would be where I come down on Gordon Elliott, second string for Kira.
And for Kira, for Steve. Right, that's in the Monksfield. And then the chase, this new chase we've got, the 220 over 3 miles. It means we're seeing, there's more opportunity perhaps to, I know it's a grade 2, but to see these staying chasers in this period as we build up to Christmas. It's an interesting introduction as far as a race goes. You've got Ravenhill, you've got Brahma Bull, you've got Manila Indo, and you've got Dream Conti as well. Manila Indo, I would suggest, is going to go off relatively short, but he's rated 165. Next in is 152 horse Ravenhill, so he's going to be well found. Don, you're chief of the Manila Indo fan club, so again I'll start with you. But if you can just reflect on what he did last time, were you happy enough with what you saw last time? Personally, I thought he was pretty impressive. Thought he was, pretty short odds on.
Yeah. Speaking of under the radar, Manila Indo. Yeah, no, he was brilliant the last day, Tom. Really, I actually thought that they'd tighten him up for the Gold Cup by more than they did. He was kind of shortened from 12 to 1 to 10 to 1 or thereabouts. I thought that given what he did and the fact that he was expected to come on for the run, that he always comes on for his debut, and actually he's as a novice hurdler and as a novice chaser, he progressed through the season. So he was very, very good. His jumping was superb. I mean, you do expect that from a Henry de Bromhead horse, but his jumping was very, very good, and he beat Milan Native pointless, and he was giving him weight. And Milan Native is a Kim Muir winner, and he's a good horse, good staying chaser. So I thought it was, you couldn't have hoped for any better, really. You would have settled for even a little bit less. In fact, I thought there was a chance he might get beaten on his seasonal debut. So he was great that day, and it looks like the plan is to run him here. It's a great race. It's the ideal race for him. If you could have framed a race, you would have framed this exact race, 3 miles at this time of year. A graduation chase, so just for second season chasers, and it's a good stepping stone for him, and then on to Christmas. So that's the kind of early season plan for him, and the Gold Cup is obviously on his radar as well, all going well. So he's just a lovely horse. He keeps on improving. He improved as a novice hurdler. The RSA chase last year, yeah, he could have won that if the ball had hopped a wee bit better. And look, he's got Milan Native against him again. Carefully Selected was down to run here, but he's not been declared, has he, Tom? Carefully Selected.
No, he doesn't go. And do you know, I hadn't read the conditions of the race, right? Ravenhill, poor old Ravenhill, has to give Manila Indo £2.
Yeah, he's rated a stone inferior, and he has to give him £2. That's fair.
Yeah, why not? Look, again, I think he's going to be very short, but it was worth touching on because he's your horse to follow this year, Manila Indo. DC, would you be sitting this one out?
Manila Indo should win it easily. I was just waiting for the decks as well. I thought that Carefully Selected was the only horse he had to beat, really, and he wanted to give him a race, but he's not running, so Manila Indo is probably going to be 1.5. So wouldn't be a betting opportunity, but would be good to see him. And Navan all is, I think Navan is a great course for for Cheltenham Clues because there's a good stiff hill there. So I always watch the racing at Navan, and it'll be good to see how he runs.
Any chance he gets beat, Jonesy, Manila Indo?
No, full house. I think the standout piece of form for me for Manila Endo is that 8-length second to Lorena at Gowran Park last season. On that form, he's got an astonishing time. No, I was monstrously impressed with him against Milan Native last time. And he was second to Champ in the RSA. Now, if they met again, I would all in on Manila Indo. They got racing so far out, and everyone keeps showing that race in the RSA where Champ apparently found all these gears. He didn't. They stopped in front and he just plodded on past them, having scrambled round somehow. And Manila Indo is a far better horse, and I think, like Don says, he's a really live Gold Cup contender.
Deasy,
you don't agree, Deasy?
Not me, no. I think Manila Indo, like he's a lovely horse, but I think he's going to be very like Manley. I think that he won't stay the Gold Cup trip completely. He'll be great over 3 miles. It's a cracking horse. I don't think Allaho stayed that trip either. I think that they both obviously didn't stay, but they were just gone too far, and Champ hit every fence the way around and still was able to get up and beat them. I wouldn't fancy either Allaho or Manila Indo for the Gold Cup this year. And like you said, Steve, like he was the only horse that Lorena managed to beat last year.
he won the other part at Hurdle, running too freely for 2.5 miles.
He won an Albert Bartlett. You got to stay 4 to win an Albert Bartlett, right?
Yeah, that would it's the horses that don't win the Albert Bartlett are the good horses, isn't it? It's the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and 5th is the ones that go on. Controversial. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry.
While we're here, Dees, can you? So Manila Indo is about 9.0, I think, for a Gold Cup. Is that right, Don? So thereabouts.
Yeah, around about that. Yeah.
Dees, what price would you lay Manila Indo for a Gold Cup?
I wouldn't be able to afford Don stakes now at all.
But what do you think he should be?
Look, I'd be happy enough with 9.0, but I wouldn't be backing him at all.
Fair enough.
To be honest, you were laying 1.5 tomorrow. I think I'm more interested in that than I am in a 9 for the Gold Cup.
No, I look. He doesn't have much to beat. This race, the Gold Cup, is a different story altogether. So that's just my thoughts on it.
That's great. I like splitting hairs. I love it.
No one wants to listen to me. You're all the experts.
but it's like what Steve said, DC. Like he and Allaho got at each other from a long, long way out the last. And it looked like they had it between them. And even going to the last, even if Manila Indo had jumped the last, he made a terrible mistake at the last. If he jumped the last, he still might have won. And if you watch it again, when Champ got to him and went past him, he kind of picked up again and got out running after Champ again. So no, I wouldn't be worried about stamina.
Yeah, I back Champ Don, so I watched that race a lot.
That's the entirety of the race, not just 1 hour.
One of the last I'd say, yeah, no, I back Champ. I thought that was a brilliant race. I think he got very hard on Champ though. But
that result was a brilliant race.
Yeah, it was. It was a cracking race.
And I backed Allaho for the JLT. So there you go. Right, best bets. What have we got? Weekend best bets. Dees, you can kick us off.
I'm going to put up Swan for someone in the Carl Hurdle. I think he's a good chance of beating the other two.
And Jonesy, other than Lorena.
I like Deasy's style, and I'm going to go for Good Boy Bobby at Haydock.
Donn McClean.
3rd wind, I think, each way, and it's a good each way race. So I just liked his run in the Pretemps. I liked his comeback run. I think he's a horse who could outstrip a mark of 141 in these staying hurdles. And if he comes on a bit from his last run, yeah, I think he's a very likable horse. And whatever 9.0, 10.0, he's a good each win and place bet.
And I will go with. I'm going to go with Capeland in a race that is on ITV at Ascot. Who came down last time, but they've changed the headgear with Capeland. He's had a run now, although he didn't make it that far, and he absolutely loves the track, and he was about 4th in, so I thought he was a fair enough price as far as the betting went. Capeland for me at Ascot. That's it, and we didn't even come to blows. Not quite. Jonesy, thanks very much indeed.
Good fun. Thanks a lot.
Deasy, well done, pal. Lovely stuff. Donn McClean, thank you very much indeed, as ever. I got your best bet in that time as well. Just for you, Don. Just for you.
I know, when you left me to last, you were going to forget about me again.
Every time I'll leave you to last now. That's it for the Matchbook podcast, horse racing podcast this weekend. I hope you've enjoyed it, and don't forget Safer Gambling Week. Look it up where you need to, and all the time codes will be on the YouTube channel, also on the podcast for you if you want to flip between the races on Saturday and Sunday. Bye for now.